Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, hopefully y'all can wake up from lunch here. This is work that I've been doing, and it really stems from collaboration with Joey Gariziak from Shenandoah. Now he's at Syracuse University, as well as Nico Bessombes from Paris in France. But I started collecting a list of all of these esports education programs in about 2019, because in 2018 I helped write the initial curriculum for the first multi-track esports degree program in the United States with Shenandoah in Virginia with Joey. My background is my doctorate is actually in curriculum and instruction. I taught at Winthrop University for several years, teaching physical education teachers how to teach PE. So my background is in pedagogy, teacher education. And yeah, so that's sort of the main goal for this project, is really trying to figure out what is the current status of esports education at the higher ed level, so college, university level. And I know even the term college means differently in different parts of the world. The term course is different in the US versus outside, and use the term module. So there's a lot of even intricacies of trying to categorize these things, knowing that all of the education systems across the US are different. It's helpful. I did my master's at Edinburgh in Scotland. I did a term at the University of Limerick in Ireland, so I've been fortunate to be exposed to a few different of these systems. So this original research and a lot of this presentation stems from a chapter of an upcoming textbook within the Routledge Handbook of Esports that I was senior editor on. Toby's one of the associate editors. And there's just the authors that I want to call out for some of this research here. And there's several people at this conference who were either authors or reviewers of chapters in this book. If you notice, this question I'm going to get, I'm sure. It is supposed to be published and available for pre-order in August, and then ship September 11th, which is not a good date for the United States, but maybe, well, anyway, I'll skip that one. That is actually on the Routledge website, and the entire listing of all of the chapters is on the Routledge website as well. These are all the chapters, and you can see all I'm presenting is 1/62nd of that. So it's 62 chapters, and I'm going on 2.5 years, and I'm getting emails while I'm at this conference about I need to be submitting the copy edited chapters back to the publisher. It's been a never-ending project, but we're really excited about its release, and hopefully that everybody in this room will get access, or at least talk to your institution library about ordering it. Here's the authors. There's 93 different authors. That's the alphabetical order. 27 different countries they represent. 19 of them represent more than one country. Toby represents 3. He's born in Austria, lived in Germany when we started the project, and then ended up in Norway. And now here's my Sam slide. So you can do like the thumbs up, some sideways, or thumbs down. Give me the Julia. Is that good? Okay, thank you. That's the self-reported gender characteristics of the authors. There's where the authors represent. So it was purposeful selection to try to get a global representation. I'll get to the whole inventory in a second, but I'm using this opportunity to give you some background information about it. It was peer-reviewed, and each chapter was reviewed by an average of 3 reviewers. And The reviewers came from 30 different countries, 149 different unique reviewers, and that's the regions of where the reviewers came from. So I don't think we got Antarctica, but maybe next time. Yeah. So today's talk, and I'm happy to answer questions on the handbook later. We're going to talk about the purpose of higher ed esports education, and we're not talking about the competitive teams side of esports. We're talking about the education, academic side of these programs, the current perceptions, a brief analysis of the landscape. I'll have the old inventory. I've done 3 different inventories. The third one is in progress, and mainly it's not completed yet because of the Handbook of Esports. But I'll give you the current status of what I have for that, and then recommendations for people who are looking at starting a program. Before I get into this slide, I'm just curious, how many of you teach an esports course or class or module? So about at least half of you. Good. All right. I have a lot of critiques. Maybe I'll get more questions than Veli there. We'll see. A lot of people don't realize that the first esports education program was back in 2004. It was a master's degree. I believe that it might have been Michael Wagner. Yeah. Or I should. Yes. And then in 2007 in South Korea, there was another 2-year esports degree program. I believe that one's focused on becoming a professional gamer. That one didn't last. 2016 in Finland was the first European program that was a 1-year program. That was what we would call more of like an associate's degree in the U.S. A lot of outside of the U.S. they call these diplomas. And then Communication University of China had one in 2017. And then here's where we hit. Where's Cameron? Is he not here? Oh, geez. Staffordshire, their apparent debacle that he likes to talk about. It's apparently the ship's been righted. Becker College, that no longer exists. That institution went out of business, and now that program was picked up by a nearby university in Boston called Clark University. And in 2020, the BTech, which is sort of what in the US we would call like a tech degree, associate's degree. It's more of a little bit advanced industry-focused high school programming started in 2020. And then the first inventory published in March of 2021 had 95 programs, and then a few months later, I added another 20 programs, so we're up to 115. And then today, I'm going to show you that we're at about 147 programs. And so a program would be any esports bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctoral program, undergraduate, minor, or certificate program that has esports in its title. Game design programs have been around since the 1980s. So if it didn't have esports in the title, it did not count as part of the inventory. And we did include the ones that say E-sports. Yeah. So what's the purpose of esports education? Typically, on the left side here at the secondary level, it is informing people what is the esports and gaming industry, what's the ecosystem. It's typically all the students are doing the same exact programming across the same cohort, and it's mostly classroom-based instruction, okay? On the right side in higher education, at least with the better programming, they are not typically generalized. It is focused on media and communication, entrepreneurship, marketing, coaching, health, whatever that is in relation through the esports lens. There's a lot more academic research embedded within that, and then there's more internships. The students are older, they're able to get hands-on experience. Hopefully both of those environments, they're teaching transferable skills. And I don't think I need to define that for you. A lot of times you'll see that you're teaching those STEAM skills, science, technology, engineering, art, math. You're motivating students that may not be motivated unless they're receiving the education through the lens of esports. And that's really one of those factors that why people are grasping onto it is there's research to show, especially in the K through 12, the secondary education setting, where when students are exposed to esports, then they have had experienced and exhibited less behavior problems, increased coming to school and not skipping school, those types of things. Career prep, and then it prepares you for further advanced education as well. All right. So I thought this was interesting. This was put out by Hitmarker, and this was the tweet that they put out. Oh man, over 10% of gaming job descriptions so far in 2023 haven't required a bachelor's degree. And all of us in higher ed are sick of hearing about how degrees are not worth anything, right? And I'm thinking, hey, dumbass, 90% do. All right? It's the way that they're spinning it. Yeah, so hopefully Hitmarker's not listening to the... So I'm not going to go into this because this would be a whole talk in itself about the esports ecosystem. Nico created the initial version of this, and then I extended it with him. But in the top corner here is one of the areas that when I collaborated with him to add on to it, we added, and that was the whole NGOs. So those are like nonprofits that are part of the ecosystem, such as Able Gamers and those advocacy types of groups, but also institutions, educational institutions, and they are becoming a lot more involved and influential in this, and especially the collegiate scene in North America is becoming a strong factor within the ecosystem, and I'll be talking about that tomorrow with Leandro. So here, what are the perceptions of esports education? So this was a study, a survey-based study based in the UK, and they were asking head teachers, chief information officers, department heads, and 1,500 UK parents about what they thought about esports education. And 67% of the respondents said that they felt it helped teach those transferable skills. And they did a follow-up with 25 interviews of industry stakeholders, and they believed that esports education and in esports can help teach all of those 10 things, which again are, when you think about what higher education should do, it's teaching all of those things. And so that's what these better esports education programs are doing, is it's helping prepare you for whatever career field you're in. And the programs that pigeonhole you to only work in the esports industry is severely limiting what your job options are. You have to come in through with the idea of this is the types of things that you're helping these students achieve through esports education. So the Esports Foundry puts out a report every year. This year they started charging for it, which is actually probably a smart thing. So I stole this from the light version. And they asked in 2022 and in 2023, these are collegiate esports programs. So usually they're like the directors of varsity level collegiate teams, whether they have any focus or avenues beyond competition, and do they include any academic integration such as courses, certificates, minors, And over about 1/3 of those varsity programs that were part of that sample do on campus have some type of academic integration into esports with their competitive varsity teams. So this was something that Cameron mentioned in his presentation this morning, but he didn't call out the name of the certificate. If you all remember this on Twitter, it was the esports certification that came out, and there were significant concerns about whether esports education is needed. And this is usually by people who are currently working in the industry, right? Here's another tweet when a new program came out. I think it might have been with the launch of Northampton's degree program. Every time the UK puts out a new program, there's all this backlash about we don't need, all the UK people are nodding their heads. Here's the common sentiment. To be honest, I think most of these esports degrees and classes are a bit dodgy, so you definitely know that they're British. They use that word. Doubt there are many working in the industry today who got there via an esports certification of any time. Well, obviously, because they didn't exist, right? So that's sort of an invalid argument. And it's better off getting a real degree and working part-time in grassroots esports. But honestly, the end part of it is sort of a consideration. It's like, should you just get a mass communication degree and then try to get an esports job? Why should you go to an esports communication degree program? At my institution, we're really well known for health professions. I teach an exercise science department, and we were considering, do we try to start like an esports exercise science degree program? And we're looking at all of the exiting qualifications for an exercise scientist, and they hardly have. Plan B, right? Yeah. Sound good? So the consideration is if we were to do that, what courses are we taking out of the exercise science undergraduate degree program to then fit in the esports specific courses? And so what we did is we started a minor, so I teach esports courses at Slippery Rock, I'll have most of the students that are in that are sport management. There's some computer science majors. I'll have some of the exercise science students taking my classes, but they typically would not minor in it. So my point is that you have to think about that from the student perspective as well as from the administrator perspective as to why should you have an esports degree program? And maybe it is where the master's degree or postgraduate level is more appropriate for esports education because you're learning all those foundational skills at the undergraduate level, and that's the point of grad study, right? Is to have a more narrow focus on things. So this is the first paper. This paper is, when you download the PDF, I think it's 47 pages. This is one of the reasons why we published it in a journal that I'm an editor for, so I can, helpful. But you can see all 95 programs. It has a web link to all of those programs. And so if you're one of these people that, hey, I want to know which programs are in my country, you can Google that and find that right now. It's open access. And that was the data, I think, went up through March of 2021 is where that was, and there were 95 programs at that time. And then when that one got published, maybe like a month later, I had already started my list and found 20 more programs. So then I just published an update on the Esports Research Network website of the additional 20 programs, and about 8 of them were from Japan that we came across. So that was October 18th of 2021. We were up to 115. And I will talk about how that was collected in a second. Who wants to guess where we're at? And I maybe told a few people, so keep your mouth shut. What are we at in the current update? 115 was in 2021. 250. Maybe. There could be. I'm at 147. But that number doesn't include the 30 that we found in the previous inventory that no longer exists, which is a whole nother piece to discuss. So that original 95 programs, how they were found, this is the methods. That is the date range in which we were collecting them. We started with internet searches. We didn't do a registered report, I'm sorry. We did, those are the search terms that we used. So that's how we started. We also solicited people in Discord from the Esports Research Network. That is the number of people that are in the Esports Research Network Discord. What are we at now? Do you have an idea, Toby? Probably at least double that. Yeah, oh yeah. There's also another Discord that actually is pretty inactive now. It was called the Global Esports Studies Discord. I don't know if anybody has information on that one, but we got a few responses there. Here's the things we were looking for. The name of the institution, the location, and the language that program was taught in. What the title of the program was. Again, it had to have esports in the degree title or certificate title or the minor title for it to count. And example, some of these game design programs that then just started throwing esports in their game design program title to try to attract new students, for example. So then those ones did count. The term or year that it started, that was a difficult one to find. But in that inventory, we posted on there for all the ones that we knew. Media articles are posted all the time about, hey, this program is starting up and it hasn't actually gone through curriculum action. And so there are these media articles that are out there that you think that program exists because you find an article that says it's by the PR department of the university, but it actually never got started because we have the College of Business Dean and the College of Education Dean and some other Arts and Sciences Dean, and they're all like, well, esports should be in our college and it should be in our college. And then the person who is teaching this course, for example, Matt, he was trying to propose a course on esports ethics. And then all of a sudden, the philosophy department had issues with it being delivered out of his department whenever they felt it should be in their department. And so things like that, the red tape, the politics of higher ed, causes things to be announced and then it never happens because everybody wants a piece of the interdisciplinary esports pie, right? The biggest case example I could give for the false media articles is Ohio State University. So the pretentious one, that's the Ohio State, to clarify. They announced in like 2016 or 2018 that they were going to have an esports program, and everybody thinks that they do. They never started one for whatever reason, I don't know. What's confusing is there is another Ohio University, which is different than Ohio State, that does have a program. So when people do, anyway, so what the objectives of the program was, a lot of times we couldn't tell exactly whether it was delivered online or face-to-face, but when we knew it was delivered completely online, we'd put that in there. And then we also tried to analyze the esports specific courses that were offered within each program to determine whether they were wanting to esportify an existing program or whether they were actually delivering a higher quality program with a lot of esports specific courses. And all of that was taken on publicly available websites. However, if there was not information, particularly about like when it started or the courses that are in the program, and we tried to go to course catalogs to look at those up, we would email the individual course leaders and ask them for more information. So there was personal correspondence, and that's how we tried to validate that data. But like, for example, I think that Portsmouth coaching program that was announced, that was one where for these newer inventories, I'm not listing them unless they've actually started because of that's an example of it was supposed to be an esports coaching degree in the UK. There were several people working on that for over a year, and then like two months before it started, they canceled it for some reason. And I was told that there were more than 50 students signed up to take it. I don't know what the rationale for why you'd cancel it. And so we had independent researchers going through, and this was particularly important when we were trying to categorize the various the modules, the courses, what those topics were, to try to analyze whether that course was relating to business, marketing. When we were categorizing which individual modules, which category did they fall into, this is how we did the frequency counts for that. So this was the first two inventories, so that both published in 2021, combined information. And this is in that textbook chapter from the Handbook of Esports. So that's the number of programs that are bachelor's degree, which is the highest amount. Then we had certificates. The other category of certificates are sort of like those, sometimes in the US they'll call them professional development certificates, because they're like geared toward working professionals, but they're not necessarily an undergrad certificate, and they're not a grad certificate. It's like for anybody to take. You might maybe call them an industry certificate. That they sort of fell in that other category of certificates. And then a technical degree, diploma, those would be like associate's degrees for the US people. Those are like 1 to 2 year degrees. All right, so here's the comparison of that and then the 147 where I'm at with this new analysis. So look at the bachelor's degrees. So it's gone up to 53. If you look at the total, we're at a 60% increase from the last analysis in 2021 to right now. And if I'm being honest, that 147 is low. I'm not totally done with analyzing all the ones. So for example, somebody from China sent me a spreadsheet of what they felt were 20 esports degree programs that I wasn't aware of. And that, there's certainly a lot of limitations to how accurate this information is, because I'm limited that I'm American, so I suffer from only knowing English. We try, having somebody who speaks French definitely helped in the research team, and we would use, anytime, I would use Google Chrome, and then I would use Translate whenever I could. There's also issues with that, but when I looked at some of those programs, I didn't necessarily see esports in their degree titles. So my point is that I'm not totally done analyzing this last inventory, but we're up to at least 147. The certificate programs have gone down a little bit. The technical degree programs has almost doubled, which is interesting. The minors has gone down a little bit. But if you're thinking about, if you look at the bottom here, we've got individual courses or modules. So if we came across an institution that offered one class, so what you would call a module that had esports in the title, a lot of times what these programs are doing, and if you look at the numbers with the minors and the individual courses, is these institutions, hey, let's offer a special topics class, right? and let's see how the enrollment is and what's the student feedback for it. And if everything looks good and there's a lot of interest on campus, then it's going to go to a full bachelor's degree. I mean, there's evidence right there. That's what's happening, is that they'll start a minor. Let's see how the minor's doing, how many people get enrolled in that. And then if it seems like it's taken off, then we'll expand to a bachelor's degree. And that's what's happening. The other phenomena is the doctoral programs are starting to go up. However, I'll talk about that in a second. They're not the doctoral programs that someone from the US would think that is a doctoral program. They're more the research European-based ones. So here's the 115 programs of which countries they were from. 92 different higher ed institutions offered them across 14 different countries. And I haven't created a spiffy map for the 147. Unfortunately, I haven't gone that far in the analysis. But they're similar locations. There's really not a lot in the southern hemisphere. Here's the focus areas of the 115, so that the first two inventories combined. One thing that has gone up from the 95 going up to adding the 20 is they're starting to increase in the number of health, performance, sports science, coaching. The broadcasting and communication actually in the first analysis had more, and now the coaching side of things is starting to pick up. But the strong majority has always been the business marketing side of esports is getting into. That's the main focus of most of those programs. In the first inventory, you can see the two starred programs. The one was the 2004 master's degree, and then that one certificate. So here's some of when I'm comparing the new analysis to the previous analysis, here's some things I'm seeing. And I've already mentioned this. Institutions are definitely starting with a course or a minor, seeing how things go. They're getting feedback. It's not just about the interest from the students too, but it's also providing data and evidence to those people making the decisions, the administrators, to say, hey, this can work on campus here. Here's a little bit of information that we've collected on these courses or this minor that we're doing. I think we should move to expand to a bachelor's degree. Here's another piece to it. The 2021 inventory, at that time, we only found 2 programs that had started that ceased to exist, okay? Almost around 30 programs that we found in the first inventory don't exist anymore. Okay, here's some of the what I would believe would be potential reasons why. I don't have like strong evidence, but several institutions that had programs, the institution doesn't exist anymore because of COVID. They closed during COVID. Okay. So that's been a few cases for that. Another one is that Becker College is an example. That institution was hurting financially. Let's start an esports degree program because that's going to be our saving grace. And so we're going to get all these new students, and then our whole institution is going to thrive because we're starting this new program. That's what some institutions that are already having financial struggles, thinking that, and some of them will add a competitive team, but some other institutions are adding an academic program to try to increase enrollment, retain the students. And so they already had problems that probably were beyond their esports academic program. It was probably just an institution issue, and then they closed. Some announced and never started, which I already talked about through the red tape of higher ed. It never started, and I think this is another issue that to find someone who has esports experience, that has teaching experience, and that has advanced degree, this room is probably like a strong majority of the people in the world, right? I mean, being a little bit facetious, but you know what I'm saying. There's not a lot of people that have all of those characteristics. Another thing is that, yeah, the majority of them, for some reason, Australia hasn't really taken off in that area, in South America, and definitely not Africa. However, through the second analysis, I'm seeing a lot, which is strange. There were not a lot of Asian programs out there, and the ones that did exist were mostly focused on becoming a pro gamer. And I think, you think of the competitive emphasis and focus in Asia, that was what they were trying to attract. And they weren't necessarily teaching people how to work in the industry. And they were just trying to attract that 18-year-old who thinks that they can go pro. And we're starting to see a few more South American education programs as well. So, Toby and I'd say at least once a month I get an email from a graduate student who wants to do their doctorate in Slippery Rock for some reason. The U.S. system for doctoral degrees, it's like an extension of undergrad. You have courses from a lot of different professors. Usually you're taking 9 credits a semester. You do 3 years of coursework, and then you do a 1-year dissertation that might include a pilot study as well. All right, that's the traditional doctoral program. That doesn't sound in Europe, and it's not how it typically works. You all are finding a mentor, an advisor. You propose a research study to them, your topic of what you want to do a bunch of research on, and then you're sort of an apprentice under them for several years, okay? So it's a different system. The traditional system, the U.S. system, there's no doctoral degree where you are going and getting coursework on esports and then you finish with a dissertation. So the traditional doctoral program doesn't exist yet. Maybe it might start as a concentration area somewhere, but these 6 there's one postdoc in here, which is from Switzerland, but these are 6 that have come out fairly recently, within the last year or so, that are people who are wanting to do a PhD in esports research, really. Yeah, and so there is Scotland, UK, Australia, Germany, and Switzerland, but some of those positions are already filled too. So it's not like they're current openings. Some of them might be available, but those are starting to increase. The BTEC. So the BTEC in the UK is what in the US we would call that like a tech school, where it's a little bit like industry focused, career focused extension of high school. That is offered at 200. At the time that I took this information, which was a few months ago, they had 228 different sites, including those countries, are offering the BTEC right now. That area is really exploding, and that's spearheaded by Pearson, the education company, as well as the British Esports Association. And there's the website at the bottom if you're interested in BTEC. What is that? British Technology and Education Commission or something? I'm not going to get into detail, but there are other esports education curriculum out there that have been around for a while. There's 3 examples right there. And there's also industry-led esports education. Those are some examples. IFEC doesn't exist anymore. Where'd Laura go? She left on me. All right, so Recommendations for if you're a student looking for a program, or if you're an administrator who's looking to start a program, or a faculty member who's trying to, I mean, honestly, if anybody in this room, if you have esports experience and you were wanting to get an esports teaching job, you could probably get a job fairly easily, because the administrators don't know anything about esports and they just trust that you do by looking at your CV, and they'll hire you. And I've gotten job offers with just via email. I've never even spoke to the person. You probably have too. That's how you got this job, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he stalked you. Okay. So, qualified faculty, where there are programs out there. One of the U.S. models is that, and I hate the direction that things are moving in the U.S. when it comes to just trying to fill all new roles with adjunct instructors. But I can sort of see some of the rationale where they start an esports program and they have about 5 or 6 classes they want taught, and they just hire one person who works in the industry to teach that course, and they do that 6 times, so like they've got an events management class in esports, and they hire somebody who's been working 10 years in esports event management. There's definitely pros to that because they get a lot of experience. Some of the issues is, what's their commitment level to the students in the institution when they're getting paid like $3,000 for that amount of work, is usually like the average. And what is their level and ability for teaching is a whole nother potential issue. You can find good adjuncts, but yeah, to find somebody who has teaching experience, the research and advanced degree, and then as well as esports experience is difficult. If you're thinking about starting a program, think about what your institution is known for and its strengths and its resources. And it could be physical assets, but also people assets. And that's where you should probably focus your degree program if you're wanting to do one. So if it is media and communications and you're known for that, then that's probably where I would look to start an esports media and communications program. If it is business and marketing, go in that direction. But I wouldn't try to start an esports program that would be like a standalone department that nobody on campus knows much about that area. Definitely you need to have industry connections, whether that be local or through remote means, so that your students can get experiential learning, because you don't want it to be all theoretical. And I think, Cameron's talk this morning, he really talked about them building so many partnerships with Staffordshire is definitely the direction you should be going with that. And the industry connections are going to help lead to job offers, hopefully. Having evidence-based teaching more than just the practical experience, so bringing in the research too, that's sort of the two sides of the coin. If it's strictly the industry people are leading the program, but they don't have the research to back up what they're stating, that is one of the things where if you can have a marriage of the two is definitely good. If you are a institution that doesn't have an esports team, but then you're starting an academic degree program, I think that you're going to have issues, because the esports team, the competitive team on campus, is going to provide the experiential learning opportunities for the students in your academic program. So you really should try to have both. And part of that is facilities. Unless you're doing some type of strictly online academic program, then you should have facilities. And then this is a term that I coined in the first paper we did on this, esportifying a curriculum. So some of these programs out there, I'll give you an example. There was, in the US, there was a master's degree that was started in esports management, okay? That same institution had a master's degree in sport management. They took their curriculum from the sport management program, they added Intro to Esports, and voila, they've got an esports management program. And so the in our analysis, we are looking at how many esports specific courses are being embedded within your academic program. And if there were like 2 or less, is what sort of the cutoff that we said is that all that is just sort of a esportified program where they're just trying to attract students and renaming and rebranding an existing program as esports when it's really the people that they might not even have anybody who has any experience in esports at all teaching that one Intro to Esports class. So be careful for that. All right, so this is one of these things. Time will tell what the better programs will be out there, and that's a next step for that research as well, is to try to get information on the job placement rates of the graduates, which is really difficult to find, and people don't necessarily want to disclose that information unless it's positive information. Yeah. There's references. So the 3 in red are the ones that have the inventories. Questions?